Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow detective,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing A Haunting in Venice. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. It's good to have you here. For those of you that have come back, we knew you'd come back. Good to see you. We like to review movies, and don't worry, we will never spoil anything in the first 15 minutes or so. We're going to give a spoiler-free review from 0 to 5, just giving our overall thoughts on the movie, some background, and then we'll give more of like a plot summary, play-by-play, and some specific things we really liked throughout the movie. But again, 0 to 5, A Haunting in Venice. Mike, are you ready?
Yes.
What'd you give it?
3.
3, okay.
I have grown to love, or at least enjoy, the story of Hercule Poirot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw A Murder in the Orient Express a few years ago. It came out in 2017. So I saw that one, really loved it. Death on the Nile came out last year. It was a nice addition. Mm-hmm. I didn't love it as much as the first one, but I thought it's because of the fact that it seemed like Agatha Christie's stories, at least on film, seem to be a little bit formulaic.
Fair, yeah. Well, they're old. They're like 1930s. So it's kind of like that detective story. Yeah.
But this one was like a nice return to it. I just love I think it's because of the fact that me as a person, I love a puzzle.
Yeah.
So I'm drawn to these detective stories, something with a mystery or something like that. You are trying to solve a murder or just solve a case or whatever it is. I've always been drawn to that.
Yeah.
So that's why I really have a fondness for these films. I think the setting was dope. Mm-hmm. It had horror elements, which I did not appreciate. I wrote a stern letter to Kenneth Branagh. Fair. But I was able to get past these horror elements.
You realize you didn't have to cover your eyes the entire time. Nice, I like that.
But I was able to get past the horror elements to just enjoy the mystery of this. Because, like I said, I'm always intrigued by it, right? Mm-hmm. You give me all of the clues and the information, and I try to work out the solution or the murder the same way that the detective is. Yeah. So I kind of really enjoyed those elements. I feel like, we just did The Creator talking about like young talent, but I think the young boy in this one who played Leopold, really good actor. I think like showing the relationship between him and his dad. Yeah. And like how the way he has to be an adult in that scenario was like. That actor did a really good job.
He reminded me of the dude in Stuart Little and like Little Vampire.
Yeah, Jonathan McNichol.
Yeah, like reminded me of that character. Yeah, or that actor.
Yeah. But I think so. His performance is great. Kenneth Branagh is always good. I think everybody else was formidable. Mm-hmm. I do love seeing what's her name, Michelle Yeoh. Apologies. Okay. She was great. I think the mystery was. Maybe a little bit ambiguous in a way, in a way, just because of the fact that it is a haunting in Venice. So obviously there are horror elements. Sorry. Yeah. But no, all in all, I had a good time with this film. I had a few gripes, and I guess we'll talk about it as we go on. I didn't like Tina Fey's performance. I felt like she might have been miscast. Okay. And not that comedic actors can't do dramatic roles. Usually, comedic actors are the best when it comes to dramatic roles. I just think this one, her playing like a 1940s. Like novelist, or whatever her portrayal was. I guess I didn't really enjoy it for her, but I've seen her do very well in dramatic roles, so it's not like she's incapable of it. But yeah, so I'll say 3. I think it's because of the fact that I think for me, Murder on the Orient Express is like a 3.5, 4. Got you. And then Death on the Nile is a little bit under this one. Mm-hmm. So like it sits. This is my second favorite out of the 3 that Kenneth Branagh has directed, because I can't say that I've read any of Agatha Christie's novels, so I can only rank what I've seen on screen. For sure. This is definitely underneath. Murder in the Orient Express, but above Death on the Nile. Cool. So, but I would definitely say go see it. But yeah, so 3 for me. All
right, 3 for Mike. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I like the similar to what you were saying, like detective stories, mystery stories. They're fun. They kind of make me feel like older times. Yeah, just like a little like the story, even though it's convoluted, is simpler of like who done it, what happened. Yeah. I will say for this one, I'm glad. Sorry, slight spoiler. There is a murder. Yeah. So like, I wasn't sure if there even was going to be a murder going into this. I thought like maybe this is just a haunting.
Well, I think that goes into the formulaicness of either these films or her novels.
Fair. Right. Yeah.
I think this was based on Halloween Party.
Yep.
So, but in that one, it was a definite murder. Like, it wasn't on leaning into the horror, the haunting of it. This one, I think you had to kind of find out.
Yeah. And again, I liked it. I'm giving it 3.5. My complaint with detective movies like this in general is, as you said, like a puzzle trying to figure it out. Movies and stories like this, they don't give you all the clues.
Which is, so I think, and it's tough. It's what you were talking about earlier about being a screenwriter or like trying to give notes. I think there's a difference between like a plot twist and a lie.
Yeah.
You can't cause a plot twist if you didn't provide me all the information.
Exactly. Like, and that's my biggest thing with parts of this, of like when he was figuring stuff out, and that's my gripe with any detective mystery movie, is when the detective is figuring stuff out, and then it's like, oh, of course it's this, because of these 3 things that I'm seeing now for the first time as you explain it. Every single time I see that, I'm a little miffed, because I'm a little like, I would have liked the chance.
Oh, wrong.
Yeah, I would have liked the opportunity.
But I think it's because, there's a difference between like a rewatch and you see those elements versus are you just being told?
You're just being told out of nowhere.
Because it was like, I like, and I think I don't know if this is all audience members or just us, but it was just like, I am trying to pick up these pieces. Because let's say I'm taking notes as well. Like I can't remember. There was something I did. Oh, maybe have you ever done the International Spy Museum?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as you go through or even like an escape room or some shit like that. It was just like you're collecting clues.
They're a blast. Yeah.
Right. So like in the same way in a film, in a whodunit or whatever it is, you're collecting clues alongside the. Now sometimes it's just a quick glance or something like that. Like in what's his name? Knives Out, right? Where like he noticed the blood on her shoe, right?
Yeah.
It was something that obviously the camera panned to a bit and stuff like that.
But it was no real way.
But it was at least you saw it, right?
Did you really see the blood?
Yeah.
You really saw the blood
on her shoe? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing it. Oh, when it fell. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's not something that because there's
you're
certain times in film where it's just like they pan to it was like you need to focus on this.
Yeah. But
I think it was brief. It was a glimpse, but like I said, it's like with a rewatch viewing, you can hopefully piece together those elements of the clues.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it is just, especially with Hercule Poirot, he just sits you down and walks you through
he explains
his thought process.
Yeah, and like for this one, there's a couple times where I'm like, okay, because this happened, for me, like I was like, okay, I know who the killer is or who the person is because this happened. And I was like, there's no way anyone but that person can now be the killer because they did this one thing. When I was like watching it, but that's the part Hercule Poirot. I think he was like, well, because there was a shoe print in the fireplace. I'm like, you didn't even show me the fireplace.
Exactly.
Damn it.
Stuff like that. But it's like you're being told versus being shown.
Exactly. But even with all of that, it was is a fun mystery detective story. I'm giving it 3.5. I was entertained throughout it. It's again, I say it like. It kind of reminds me of like older, simpler movies in a way, but at the same time, like that's a really nice, like refreshing thing to go back to because sometimes movies now just get so convoluted in plot when this one simply comes down to whodunit, but this one had a twist because it's whodunit, but now there's like weird occult ghost elements going on. Interesting.
I think that's what was at a certain point instead of at a certain point instead of trying to find it out along with the detective, I kind of just took a step back because I couldn't tell if it was because of the fact that it was like where they couldn't subvert expectations where it was just like it's a Hercule Poirot thing. All right, so he's gonna it's based in reality, right?
Yeah.
But since there were so many horror elements or the haunting element of it, I thought, oh, maybe this one is actually going to be it's not a murder like the way you think. So I kind of for this one, it was the first time I was just an audience member versus an amateur sleuth.
Fair, yeah.
You know?
Remember, Clue was one of my favorite board games growing up. I loved Clue. My parents got so sick of Clue. I wanted to play Clue all the time. And
it was like, bro, where's the candlestick?
Yeah.
Think about real life.
It was Colonel Mustard. But yeah, so Mike's giving it 3. I'm giving it 3.5. We both say go see it. It might not be in theaters for too much longer now at the release.
Maybe not, but it'll probably be on HBO Max.
And definitely, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Max, really soon.
And get those streaming numbers up because Hercule Poirot is a fun character, and mysteries like this are always a blast. So yeah, go see it. Let's get some background. We're not going to spoil anything yet, but some background on this.
Okay. So, A Haunting in Venice came out on September 15th, 2023. It is the third in the Kenneth Branagh's telling of Agatha Christie's famous detective Hercule Poirot. So he did Murder on the Orient Express in 2017, and then last year Death on the Nile released. Now I think it was supposed to come out early, but obviously pandemic and stuff like that probably delayed it. But those are the first two that he directed for Hercule Poirot. He also directed and starred in all three of those.
Okay. And for the record, I'm a charlatan. A charlatan? Charlatan. I have not seen the first two. I've only seen this one, but I want to see the first two now.
The runtime is an hour and 43 minutes. The budget was $60 million. I apologize. Jesus Christ.
$60 million?
Yeah, only
$60 million for this? Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be that much, honestly. How much are they paying these actors?
Well, I think that's the thing with these movies, right?
Yeah, right.
It is usually bigger names. Like I said, this is the smallest cast that they have.
But $60 million for this.
Because the first one had like fucking Johnny Depp, fucking what's her name, Michelle Pfeiffer, damn it, what's his name, Josh Gad. That's a big name. Leslie Odom Jr. Like it had a big cast.
Yeah, I'm just because we just did The Creator, and like The Creator was only $80 million, and The Creator had so many more effects. So I'm just like, where did all this money go?
Honestly, I'm curious.
Yeah. But I mean,
because it's also one setting too, and it's not necessarily like a play where it's like one room. Yeah. But it's still like they didn't go anywhere.
I mean, I would say even like $40 million, I would have had this reaction, but $60 million, that's okay. I would have expected like 20 to 40 would be my range, but also like, what the hell do I know? I don't make movies, so like shit's expensive.
Currently, excuse me. Now I checked this out earlier this week. The box office is at $71 million, which is fair. I think the Murder made the most, but that's just because of the fact that it didn't come out on a pandemic era release, so that's what affected Death on the Nile. But 71 isn't too bad. We'll see how it grows. It's only been out for about two. I think that was the first week's numbers. Yeah. So not too bad. So
and it's beating the budget already, which is great. Yeah. If you beat budget, that seems pretty solid.
Yeah. So the Rotten Tomatoes, I had it as 76 and a 77 for critics and audience. So
okay. Yeah.
Fair. I think it's been reviewed the best because, like I was saying, I was actually surprised. I was shocked. I went back and looked at Murder and Death on the Nile, and I think they were at like a 61, 64 for the critics. So not as many people. I think the audience liked it a bit more, but the critics not so much. So this one is the best reviewed ones for critics, which is surprising to me because I really enjoyed Murder. Yeah. But I think it's also because of the fact that Agatha Christie's novels have been done to death. Fair. Like this isn't the first movie adaptation of at least Murder and Death on the Nile. I don't know how many of them they've done, but I think in the 1930s and 40s, they a lot of her novels.
100% with Murder in the Orient Express, especially. Yeah, that's definitely been a couple iterations.
The genre is crime, drama, horror. For some fucking reason.
There's nothing wrong with horror.
You take it back. The director is Kenneth Branagh, who's an actor and director. We just saw him in Oppenheimer. Yep. As Niles Bohr, I believe. And then, like I said, Niels. Hey. Neil. He directed Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, also Henry V, Much Ado About Nothing. So I didn't realize he's been directing for a while. Okay, yeah. Like, so those are back in like early 2000s, 90s. Like, I didn't realize. Hamlet, he directed the first Thor movie. Really? Yeah. And he was also in that one. Okay. Jack Ryan, Belfast, that's the one he directed right before Death on the Nile. Okay. I think that one he won awards for. Yeah. And then Cinderella, the live action Cinderella for Disney, which is surprising. Okay. But yeah, I was like looking at his, because I know him as an actor, right? Especially we just Tenet, or whatever. But it was like I didn't realize he's been directing for that long. Yeah. The cast, so obviously we have Kenneth Branagh playing Hercule Poirot, Michelle Yeoh as Reynolds. I think her name was Joyce Reynolds. Because I just said that because I'll probably be referring to her as Joyce and not Reynolds. Tina Fey as, her last name is Oliver. Her first name is Adrienne.
The auteur.
Yeah, she's the author. So she's actually.
Oh, this is 1944. It's auteur.
I didn't see any.
I'm like, I don't even. It sounds like there's an R in this. Whatever.
But no, she's actually a character in Agatha Christie's novels for Hercule Poirot. Okay. She was like a self-insert for Agatha Christie.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Which was she in all of them? Was she in?
Not all of them.
Okay,
no.
Just a couple.
But she was like the same thing that happened in this one. Like she basically wrote a detective novel was kind of based on Hercule Poirot.
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan, Christian Grey himself as Dr. Leslie, Riccardo Scaramucci as Vitaly, Kelly Riley as Rowena, Camille Cotton as Olga, Jude Hill as Leopold, that's a young boy, and Emma Laird as Desdemona, that's one of the twins.
Okay, yeah.
Kyle Allen as Maxine, that's the
housekeeper?
No, the fiance.
Oh.
Olga was the housekeeper.
Oh, Olga was housekeeper. So the one. Wait. Oh yes, the fiance. Gotcha.
His name was Maxime.
Okay, 100% when you said that, I was like, okay, so female actor. So like, what am I thinking?
And then Ali Khan as Nicholas. That's the other twin.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, a fairly small cast for a Hercule Poirot movie.
Cool.
And then the tagline.
They only wanted to spend $60 million instead of $80.
The tagline is "Death is just the beginning."
Okay.
Which was giving more Mummy than this.
I know, right? And that's literally what the tagline was for the Mummy. I'm like, you have copied this, all right? Like, luckily, it's The Mummy, which is another 5 out of 5 movie, but still, damn it. Anyway. But yeah, so that is the background. Thank you so much, Mike. Before we hop into our spoilers and play-by-play, a quick word from our sponsors, us, and specifically me in this instance. Hi, I'm Edward Hunt. I'm on the Just Be team of Compass Real Estate. We are all about finding where you're meant to be. Just Be is based in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, so if you would like any advice on the market, you need some phenomenal handymen or contractors, or some amazing lenders, feel free to reach out anytime, and I can connect you with those people. Another great thing about Compass is we are a nationwide brokerage, and we're one of the biggest brokerages in the nation. So no matter where you are in this country, that's being the USA, I'm sorry everyone else, but I can still try to find you someone. No matter where you are in the US, I can find you some phenomenal resources for any of your home needs. From there, also, I'm writing a few comics, and I have one out right now. It'll be up online soon for everyone to read, and I've actually already started on issue 2 for it as well. All right, but let's get into some spoilers now. So remember, it's a detective movie, so we're not going to spoil anything until the very end, don't worry. But Haunting in Venice...
That's how Hercule Poirot works.
Yeah, so Haunting in Venice, it's actually Venice, Texas, I think is where this starts. Yeah. Is there Venice, Texas?
I don't know.
There might be. I hope there is.
So America has the audacity to have a Paris, so I refuse.
There you go.
But yeah, so it opens with Hercule Poirot. He's in 1947. He's now retired. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't do any cases anymore. Yeah. So like he wakes up, he leaves his house to go for a walk, and you see just a trail of like people waiting outside of his house. Yeah. They were sleeping there, mm-hmm. and like so as soon as he steps out, they kind of wake up and they just start trailing him and just giving him cases to solve. Yeah. This one young man is like, oh, my mother died, and then my mother shortly after, then my brother also died.
Yeah, mother, father, brother.
Yeah, he was like, now I fear for my life. And like he touches the Hercule Poirot's shoulder, but Hercule Poirot kind of stops, but keeps going. Mm-hmm. And then like right as the guy's trying to follow him, he just gets decked in the face.
Yeah, his freaking bodyguard just clotheslines the fuck out of him out of nowhere, and he was like, "What'd I tell you? Next time you touch him, I take your hand." Yeah, I'm like, damn, that's a bodyguard. I want a bodyguard like that.
And so Hercule Poirot goes to the rooftop to enjoy candies. We all know that Hercule Poirot loves sweets. Mm-hmm. And he is very meticulous, kind of OCD-ish. Like, yeah. And so he's sitting up, he's like reading the paper, like eating his sweets, and his bodyguard comes up to him and says that somebody's here to see him. Yeah. And he immediately goes, you know, I don't accept any cases or anything like that. And then
very lonely life. It's just like, no one can see me. I have no friends. I'm like, Jesus. Like, this is also, again, my first iteration of Hercule Poirot. Yeah. So like, my introduction, I was like, okay, you have no friends and nobody. I'm like, damn, what kind of life do you live there? Yeah.
And so his bodyguard goes, she's told me to tell you it's the lady with the apple. So he presents an apple to him, mm-hmm. and he knows exactly who it is Adrienne, who is the author. Yes. And kind of, it gets explained basically like she wrote about Hercule Poirot in her novels, and that's how he became famous, mm-hmm. and stuff like that. So like, they meet, and he goes on more expositions about how he's not taking cases anymore. She makes comments about how he's not living life. You're not the Hercule Poirot I know because mm-hmm. of the fact that you're not doing cases.
Yeah, he's just putting himself away. The only thing he does is eat sweets every day, and that's it. Yeah, which does sound like a pretty awful life. Nothing against.
So this is the first. This is your first. This is your introduction to him. Mm-hmm. One, he was in the war. Okay. Right. Yeah. So you find that out in Death on the Nile that he was in the war. He lost his wife.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then so he became a detective in the Private Eye. Okay. So in Murder in the Orient Express, you see that he has a what's his name. He does have friends. There's this guy named Bonk, right?
Okay.
So he was the one that, because you see that Adrienne is the one that helps him during the investigation. Bonk was the one that did that in the other two.
Gotcha.
So he did have friends. I think, but that was in like 1937.
Okay.
Or something like that. I think the Murder in the Orient Express was like 1937.
Got you.
1944 was Death on the Nile, something like that. So it was just like, this is 3 years after that. So I think after what had happened in Death on the Nile, not to spoil it, but Bonk dies. And so it's a very close friend of his. So I think you're seeing him retreating from the world after losing a lot.
Fair. Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
But still, it is a lonely life. But I think it just sucks that you have to do that homework to get here.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. Now there is, like, if you watch enough movies or you read enough, like, you can kind of piece those things without. I think a movie could do that without you having to do the homework.
And 100%, like, even without all of that, like, I still did 100% accept this
as
like, he's definitely a famous dude who is now a recluse, and he's just living his life, doing his thing. Okay,
and that's what I'm saying. I think the movie did that fine. I just kind of wanted to give the audience a little bit of, the audience and you just.
I get it. You like these movies, all right? I'll watch them. Jesus.
But yeah, so Adrienne has come to visit him because she wants his help. So, like, she was trying to write another novel. Like, she did mention that, like, she wrote 30.
She's written 30 novels, 27 of which are bestsellers, and the last 3 weren't. I'm like, that is a phenomenal career.
Yeah,
like,
but I think it's in her mind, right? It was just like all that success, and then her last 3 were flops. Yeah, that's what you're remembered for in a way, right?
I guess.
Or at least her. I mean, once again, trying to get into her mindset, right?
30 novels, though. I mean, like, get over yourself.
And so, like, she's doing research for another novel. She's found this, what's her name? Like a medium. Medium, yes, thank you. That she, because she doesn't believe in that. Yeah. But she's gone to readings and she can't figure it out. Yeah. So she says this in the trailer. She was like, "I'm the smartest person I know, so I came to the second, which is you." Yeah. And it was like, this is like, even in the trailer, I was like, oh, I don't like her. You don't ask my help to disrespect me. I'm like, curses. Because I'd have been like, no.
I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. There you have it.
You ain't bring me no sweets, man.
Exactly. So, I enjoy sweets. I don't want this apple.
But so she's come to ask for Poirot's help, basically saying, come help me debunk this medium. And so he takes her up on her offer or whatever. So
he's got nothing else to do.
Yeah. So the seance is the night of Halloween.
Yeah. But it was around this time too. Just seeing the bodyguard just knock people into the into the canal.
Oh yeah. So that's another big deal. Like, so once again, he's retreated to Venice to retire basically. But he's known, he's renowned. So like, anytime he leaves his apartment, there is a trail. Not maybe a huge trail, but there's people following him to take on cases.
Yeah. I love the bodyguard character.
Yeah, and so like you see him once he clotheslined the first dude. This dude is following him over a bridge, and he kind of pushes him into the canal.
All this, he does not let anyone get near him, which is great. I love it. But so they're going to this party.
Yes, yeah, they're going to the party. I don't know if it's that night, but it's Halloween.
Yeah. As a whole, too, I didn't mention this in the review. I do think this movie does a great job of setting tone and like just the setting. When they're going to this creepy party, and all 3 of them are in the canal with like the masked people. Just each one has their own individual boat, which makes no sense. But whatever.
I mean, did we need all different taxis?
They got money. They got money. I guess.
I'm trying to lower my carbon footprint.
Yeah. But it's like all like, the soundtrack and the tone as they're all just the thunderstorm as they're like canaling over to the party. Awesome, great. I'm like,
have you been to Venice?
I have not. I would.
So that's why I think what I love, because it was like one of the creepiest, but one of my favorite places in Italy. Okay. Because of the fact it is very, it can be very claustrophobic. Oh, okay. In that way. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like, so that's what's interesting that like the movie itself didn't. It didn't happen in because that would have been very much like a Jack the Ripper type thing. Maybe it was just like you being in the streets and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was only one setting, but it was like it definitely could lend itself. Yeah. Because I'm when I tell you like because we quick story when we went to Venice, we landed at 11 o'clock at night. Okay. Yeah. So like everything was shut down, and we took not the Uber, but the subway there was literally just a boat down the canal.
That's awesome.
Stop to stop, and like. fucking all I have is a printout from the Airbnb, the hotel host.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And so like it said go to this stop, and the boat we took was the last one, and it went a stop before we needed. So it was like fuck, now we got to go into Venice.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I'm telling about the claustrophobia. It was like when I tell you like some of those streets were like my wingspan. Wow. Like that tiny.
That's nuts. Yeah.
And so, so it was just like we had to, and it was like the only directions I had were to go to the stop. So we had to go into Venice. To figure out how to get to the stop so that I can direct from there. And it was like I was like, if there was any place for me to be murdered, it would be in Venice at midnight. And it was like we get to the Airbnb and it was like we had to pay cash like then. And it was like, bro, we just landed. We got no fucking cash. So he was like, oh, you got to go to the ATM. And I was just like,
we have to go back out.
So he sent us back
back in the night.
Curse you, sir. Here's your punk ass €200.
No, please, for the love of God, make sure I don't die.
But anyway, sorry, a little tangent.
No, 100%. Italy is very high on my list. I need to go to Italy. I've been to a lot of places, not there.
But yeah, so you're right. So the party's at night. And so at first, it's because the seance is for Rowena Drake.
Yes.
Is her name.
Yeah.
And so, but she's throwing a Halloween party for the orphans in the city.
Because she's just a nice person.
Yeah, and then so like they'll go to the party first, and then after the party goers leave, they'll perform the seance.
Yeah.
And so you see, like you said, Vitaly, Poirot, and Adrienne. They arrive at the party along with a bunch of kids, and when they first get there, there's like a performer or whatever telling
us. It's a terrifying story for children.
I was like, Jesus.
I was like, oh my God.
So real quick, he tells a story of this actual, they called it a palazzo, right?
Palazzo, yeah.
Palazzo, yeah.
Yeah, palazzo,
Sorry.
yeah. It might be palazzo, but I think
No, you're right,
yeah,
you're definitely right. I don't speak Italian.
Buongiorno.
Oui.
I'll take it.
But yeah, so he tells the story of the palazzo where like back in like years prior.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing too. Was like basically if you're from Venice, you believe that the whole city is haunted.
Oh yeah, Vitaly's thing was like
a haunting is
every house is either cursed or haunted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, love it. Yeah.
So he's telling the story of this particular palazzo where it was a house for orphans.
Yeah, it was
who were
orphanage.
Sick. Yeah, it was. I was gonna say it's a house for orphans. We don't have a name for it.
An orphanage, if you will. Yes, quite.
It was an orphanage for kids who were sick with like lupus or something like that.
That's something. Yeah.
And like the kids were there with the doctors, and at one point, I think the doctors and nurses couldn't cure the children.
Well, the Black Plague happened.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the Black Plague came. Yeah. So obviously, doctors and nurses need to fucking lock all these children.
Yeah, so they locked the kids in the basement and then left.
Fucking got the
So now the children haunt the halls, and they are looking for any doctors or nurses to get revenge.
Yep. Or children to come play with them.
Yes. And so this is the story that they tell before they even enter the house. Yeah. Like everybody's like right at the. I guess in the garage or something like that, because where all the boats come in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where the boats come.
And I was listening because I realized it was a horror, and I'm just sitting there like, Jesus,
like, good heavens! But it's like a fun little puppet show and everything. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's cool, but it's introducing you to the lore of this house.
Yep. Right. And like a fun because it's flashing to the children. The children look like terrified and everything, but in a good way. And even Hercule is like, oh, well, like, doesn't this scare the children? And they're like, oh, well, like, it reminds them that life, isn't as bad, and that they can have fun with it, and blah, blah, blah. Because as soon as it ends, they're like, now, who wants the party? And then the children just run away.
First he says there's no doctors or nurses here, right?
Yeah.
And then the kids are like, fuck that! Candy!
And then they're like, all right, let's party. And they just run out, and everyone has a great time.
Yeah. So we enter the party. The kids are running around, bobbing for apples, like, just playing, just having a good time in the house. And this is where we meet our main character. So we have already met Adrienne, Poirot, Vitaly. We meet what's her name, Rowena Drake, who is the one that's has.
It's
the one who is throwing the party for the children and also the seance. Yeah. We meet Dr. Leslie and his son Leopold, and Olga, the housekeeper.
Yep.
And we see that Leopold is definitely like beyond his years. Like, so in this whole party, kids are having fun, and he's just reading. And he's reading Edgar Allan Poe.
Yep. He's a weird kid.
Yeah, and he's just like, he doesn't, and then even Olga is just like, I thought we talked about you basically just being a kid for once. Right?
Yeah.
because she knows that he's very adult, which is nothing wrong with it, but it was just like I think he's missing out on being an actual kid.
Yeah.
And so who else we meet? We meet Dr. Leslie, Olga, Rowena, and that was it.
That's it. Yeah.
And then what's her name arrives? Joyce arrives with her assistant.
Yeah, Reynolds.
Yeah, that's the medium.
Mm-hmm.
And when she arrives, we see that the seance was supposed to happen in like some downstairs
the saloon, party area or whatever.
Yeah. Rowena says she has it all set up.
Mm-hmm.
But Joyce mentions, I was like, well, where is
Well, she knows. What is it? Alicia? What's that name?
Yes.
Alicia. She's like, oh, Alicia's room is on the 3rd floor, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, how did you know that? Because she should have known. And she's like, let's do the seance there instead.
So now
she comes in and there's some kind of mystical stuff.
Yeah.
She knows stuff she shouldn't know, allegedly. Yeah.
And so the party continues for a bit, and then the kids leave. Because it's like, we can just jump into it. But it's party's the party. The kids leave. They're about to start the seance, so they go up into the room. And first, before anyone enters, because Olga has the key, the housekeeper.
Yeah.
And Poirot says, "Has anyone been in this room?" She goes. Olga says, "No one.
I'm the only one.
I'm the only one with the key. I just go in, every now and then to dust. But Rowena doesn't want me moving anything."
Yeah.
And so they go in. They set up for the seance. And as they're setting up, they get a knock at the door, and another guest is coming. This is Maxine.
Yes.
And this is the former,
Fiance.
former fiance of Alicia. Alicia. Sorry.
Alicia. Yeah.
Who is the daughter of Rowena, who she's trying to contact.
Yeah.
And so they're all there. There's a little bit of tension between Maxim and Rowena, obviously, but. And he just came in arrogant as shit. I was like, relax, my G.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, he was compensating. Yeah, as you learn later. But yeah, because he's like, yes, and I have been granted property by the Baron in New York, so I'll be a very rich New Yorker, the only New Yorker to be. And I was like, God, I hate you. Also, do you have property in New York? I'm just like, but I see what you're saying.
It was just, I don't know. It was just like he came in so hot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
you get why later. Yeah, you get why later.
So now they're all in Alicia's room. The seance, right as the seance begins or whatever, and so Joyce keeps making these comments about how like this this place, there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of pain in this, not just this room but in this house.
Yeah, because she's heard the legend, or she knows the legend and ghosts of all the children running around.
And so she brings out a typewriter, and she calls herself a medium. So she explained that because I think they expected someone over the top.
Yeah.
Right? Since she speaks to the spirits or whatever, she's going to be over the top and dramatic. But she calls herself a medium because of the fact that it was like, I am no less and no more.
Yeah.
In a way.
In between.
And then she brings out a typewriter because she considers herself a secretary for the spirits.
Yeah.
Right? She's just passing on a message from one realm to the next.
Which is a pretty fun way to
do it. And I thought it was very interesting. It was this, because it was like, because I think Poirot had made a comment to her about the fact that he doesn't like he called her a con man just because of the fact that it was like you're preying on
people's like desperation.
Yeah, preying on people's desperation to explain loss and,
they want to be
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think he didn't like that aspect of her. So it was like, as an audience, you are still trying to figure out, is there truth to what she's doing, or is she just a con artist?
Because there is like some creepy stuff going, which proves nothing. But yeah.
And so she places a typewriter in front of her, and she says she's just going to be relaying a message. So it's like she puts her hands out, and they're hovering above the keys of the typewriter, but not touching them.
Yep. Yeah.
And then she calls on the spirit of Alicia, and she starts kind of like convulsing and stuff like that, and she asks it a question, and are you such and such?
Yeah.
And she moves her finger, and it was like, this is where like I said, I don't like horror, but I kind of enjoyed this horror element of it. So she moves her finger to press a key, even though she's hovering way above it.
Yeah, and behind, she's like over here, typewriter.
Oh, that's what. Yeah. The
It's
typewriter wasn't in front of her.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so she presses a key, even though she's nowhere near it.
She moves a finger. And
she moves her finger, and the key presses, and they're like, "Holy shit!" This is real. And
but Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, so they asked it. They asked it a few more questions, and then kind of Hercule just stops it.
Yep.
And it was initially you think it's because of the fact that he kept mentioning he doesn't believe in the supernatural. He's seen a lot of things in his life. Everything can be explained.
Yeah.
And so that initially that's what you think. He's like, oh fuck that! Like, what are we doing? Everybody kind of like stop this madness. But it's not because of that. It's because he's kind of figured.
He's already figured it out.
And so like he goes. At least like I suspected. I thought there was more than one assistant.
Yeah.
So he goes over to the fireplace.
Yeah.
And kind of pokes up. And Nicholas falls off. And then so he goes on a whole, once again, it's Hercule Poirot, so he's going to give you a speech.
Yep.
And he says, he notices that given the very distinct color of the eyes, he must be a half-brother of the assistant, Desdemona.
Yep, yeah.
And he has this Nicholas has this device, this magnetic device that's what's been manipulating the keys on the typewriter.
And he also saw that there was scratch around
on
the door. There was scratch on the paint, which shows that the lock was picked, and then there's a footstep in the fireplace.
That's what you're saying.
And I'm just like, I didn't even get a chance to see these things.
So at least the lock pick made sense, right?
Yeah.
That was fine.
Yeah.
Deducing that they were brother and sister.
Even though you didn't really get a zoom in on the lock pick to see it was picked, but yeah. But obviously, if they had shown me the chipped paint on an old door, I would have known. 100%. Right?
Stop trying to best Poirot.
Well, if he stops cheating,
I think that's all your critiques is the fact that I could have solved it faster.
I could have solved it. I mean, hey, at least as fast. All right.
But yeah, so like he kind of debunks all of this. He was like, you tried, you failed, right? But then at that moment, Joyce starts convulsing, right?
Yep.
And like her chair starts spinning.
And for me, 100%, I'm like, oh, she knows she's been had, so now she's doing all this extra shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, chair starts spinning.
Then she starts speaking to Rowena in Alicia's voice.
Yes. Oh yeah, speaking to everyone.
Yeah. So she says, "Mama, Mama," and then Rowena says,
"Yeah."
Oh, she recognizes her daughter's voice. Now, the one thing that was interesting was the fact that even though they explained that she had a fiance, so obviously she's of age.
Yeah.
But that voice sounded like a young girl.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even in the trailer, so like you don't get in the trailer, obviously you don't get introduced to everyone, so you don't know who's there. So I didn't know that her fiance was in the room. Yeah. So I'm thinking it's a very young girl, maybe 13, 14 that died or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it was in the book. It was the girl was a little bit younger.
I was just gonna say, like, because she was they did say Alicia in the end kind of regressed in age a little bit. Like she started acting younger, and then are you just being like, oh, mama, when I'm like a small young child who needs like protecting and all of this with what's going on with all of that. But that's a good point. Yeah. You know what really it was is that she can't impersonate her real voice perfectly, so I'm just gonna impersonate a child's voice. Yeah.
Stop trying to best Poirot. I'm just going to keep writing it. Minute X, Ed tried to best Poirot.
I'm like, hey, all I'm saying, put us in the same room, all right? And we'll
5 cases. 5 years. And so...
she's convulsing, spinning around.
Yeah, spinning around. The door opens aggressively or whatever, and then like she starts talking in Alicia's voice, and she says that she mentions that she was murdered.
Yes.
And then kind of the seance ends. Everyone kind of leaves the room. Poirot goes to talk to Joyce again. And this is when I think maybe this is when he had talked to her about her being a con artist.
Well, he even mentions it in the first thing Poirot says to her is like, I don't like people like you. And I was like, damn, Poirot. Like, oh, good heavens.
And he was like, oh, the racism.
Oh, it's not. Okay, good. It's not racism. All right, we're good. Whew. Thank God. Yeah.
He's like, short people. God, what did you think?
Pretty much. But yeah, so then it turns into, then they talk even more.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing's like, oh, even if it is made up, I'm making people feel better.
Yeah.
What's so wrong about that? And stuff like that.
Yeah, she kind of breaks this, because like initially it was very regal, her even though she was a medium, she wasn't over the top. It was very this like regal and
and in that one-on-one conversation, she's like, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But even if it's not real, fuck you. And I'm like, all right, cool.
But yeah, so she mentions that Rowena had told her to come back the next night.
Yes.
To continue the seance, but Poirot's like, oh, I'm not going to be a part of any of this.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I already deduce that you were lying anyway, so I assume it's just more
Which
lying.
everyone like believes her all of a sudden when like she has that weird convulsion, but like you all literally just saw her, a dude fall from the chimney. Why is anyone believing her now?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's silly.
But so she goes to leave after she tells him, like, even if it is real, who gives a shit? She places her robe on him and the mask.
So weird.
And she tells him to just have fun.
So weird. I found that so weird.
Yeah.
It makes sense for the story, but I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
But yeah, she just tells him to have fun, like lighten up.
Yeah.
And so he kind of takes this to heart. And they had mentioned earlier during the party with the kids when they were bobbing for apples. You can definitely see, like you said,
he wanted to bob.
He wanted to, but it is definitely this, like, there is a lack of light in his life.
For sure. Yeah.
Or like whimsy or whatever it is. And so in that moment, he has her her cloak on, and her mask. And he goes to the barrel to bob, like, well, it's like, I guess a glass basin or something.
Yeah.
And he just starts bobbing for apples. Foolish.
Yeah.
And then immediately somebody comes up behind him and is just like holds his head down in the water to drown him.
Just for the record, that's a basin. You could just tip the basin over. Just throwing that out there, but it's cool.
I feel like it's like when somebody like puts a bag over your head and you're just like fighting the person with just bust the bag over.
Yeah, you just rip. Yeah, it's just like duck.
But I think it is in that moment, like it's a fight or flight.
Oh, absolutely, it's scary. Yeah, I don't know how I react. Yeah.
But so he's being drowned. He kind of like drowns. The person like just leaves him.
Yep. I would react better than Hercule Poirot. That's fine.
No. And so Vitaly finds him, like revives him.
Worst bodyguard ever here. I'm like, where the fuck you been, bro?
I'm like, you didn't make me fight for my life, motherfucker. You fired. Uncuff me.
Yeah, 100%.
But really, man, you didn't hit me fighting for my life, bitch.
Come on, man.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, so after he comes to, where he gets revived, we hear like this scream, and they run. Oh, we hear a scream, and then I think we see a shadow, and it was just like a body just being impaled by a statue.
On the statue. Yeah.
And so they run in and we see that the body that's impaled is Joyce's. And everybody's like freaking out. Fucking Adrienne is like screaming aggressively. And I think it's being an audience member and a real person knowing that it's a film. It's like, could you quiet down?
I'm like,
it's a dead body. Relax. But once again, audience member.
Yeah, not actually in the situation.
Also, I don't like screaming. I think that's what it is. I like loud noises.
So when Mike sees dead bodies, he's just like, okay, nice. Cool. Keep it moving. Yeah, whatever. Another one.
So this is when obviously there's now a murder.
Yep.
They can't leave. Like there's the waters are treacherous.
It was like a big storm going on.
Yeah. So they can't leave, and the cops can't come
either.
So they're in. I think they're in the music room. I believe. Yes, they're in the music room. Hercule Poirot is like recovering from being drowned or whatever. So Olga brings him some tea.
Yep.
Rowena mentions, I thought the cupboards were bare. And no, not Olga. What's her name? I think
the author lady. Well,
the
author lady.
Adrienne. Adrienne brings him tea. So I apologize.
Yeah.
What's his name? Vitaly tries to make a call using the phone in the music room.
Yep.
But obviously the cops can't come.
Yeah.
And so Hercule Poirot, now he's on the case.
Yeah, he drinks the tea. He thought the cupboards were bare, but the author says, "Oh, she found some honey in the cupboard." And then Hercule Poirot's like, "Fuck that! There's been a murder."
Yeah.
So he locks everything.
Now he's on the case. Now he's
on the
back.
case. Yeah.
And so he recruits Adrienne as his assistant. And like I said, in earlier movies, it was Bond.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But he always has somebody helping out.
Yeah.
With the interrogations and everything like that.
Yeah, since he was like, because of XYZ, Adrienne had a legitimate alibi, so it couldn't have been her.
Yes.
So she gets to help out now because of it.
And so he tasks Maxime and Vitaly to watch the doors. And there's every now and then you jump back to them, and it was like, I think Maxime tried to get out. He was like, "Do you want your leg broken?"
Yeah. He's like, "You won't get far with a broken leg." I'm like, "Damn, Vitaly."
It was subtle as shit. I was just like, What? Because you know I pour money. I'm just like, can we stop with the TV?
I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah.
So he starts interrogating. So I think he starts interviewing. And so he starts with, I believe, Rowena, right?
Probably. I can't really remember the
I think, like I said, we can kind of jump through each of the interviews.
Yeah.
She takes them to the garden upstairs, which was she said Alicia's favorite place.
Yep.
She had ripped out
Well, we don't know this yet. We know that later, right? When she rips out everything when Maxine
I thought
tells
she
us?
had mentioned it.
Maybe she did. I can't remember.
And then, but she also mentions that they
made honey.
Yeah, they made honey.
Yeah.
But she had, she said she ripped out the flowers and then went away to Istanbul or whatever.
Got you.
And poor things weren't taken care of, so they had died.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of getting background because of the fact that there's been a murder, right? But Joyce has been murdered, but also Alicia had mentioned when she was possessing Joyce that she had been murdered.
Yes.
So I think he's trying to solve or see if there's any truth to
connection what's going on.
And at the same time, as he's doing these interviews.
So 100% too, with backstory of all of this too, is like, Alicia was with her fiance, they broke up, Alicia went home, she was very distraught and sad. Then the children, like the story is the children's spirit started talking to her, so then she killed herself by throwing herself off a balcony.
Yes.
That's the story we have right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so...
So he was interviewing Irina. Then I guess he interviews the housekeeper.
Olga, yes. And we found out that she was because she's also very superstitious.
Yes.
And we found out that she was a former nun, but she fell in love.
Yep.
So she left the
convent?
parish or convent.
Sorry. Yeah.
But she still holds those beliefs.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he asked her, well, if you don't believe in, if you think this is ungodly, the seance and stuff like that, why would you attend? And she goes, there's only one person I have to answer to.
Yep. God, not you, motherfucker.
God,
get the fuck out of here.
Got out of there.
I said, nah, get off me, son. And I'm like, damn.
Then they interview, and all while these interviews happen, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Poirot goes to the bathroom.
And there's like creepy shit.
And he's starting having hallucinations.
Yes. Well, he's getting haunted. Like, Poirot's hearing like a little child.
Yeah, he's hearing singing, and like nobody else is hearing it.
Yeah.
And so then they interview Dr. Leslie. You find out he was the Drake's family doctor.
Yeah. And he's going through PTSD.
Yeah, because he was in the war. He can't find work or whatever.
And he also loves Rowena.
Yeah, but because of his love of Rowena, and since he was a family doctor, he did see, and he feels guilty as well because of the fact that he couldn't. Alicia had mentioned that the children were haunting her.
Yeah.
But he couldn't. He just didn't. He didn't believe it.
And he just gave her sedatives. Yeah. He's like, I could have done more. I could have done different things. All I did was give her sedatives, and I didn't actually do anything for her. Yeah. From there, then again with the creepy stuff going on, he has another creepy exchange with the child, with the son of the doctor.
Yeah.
In the bathroom.
He was in the bathroom. He's like, he turns on the water faucet, but it doesn't go.
Nothing happens.
And then he turns away and now it's on. Like, so it's just like these.
And he sees a ghost of Alicia.
Yeah.
For a second.
And then I think what I did enjoy talking about the son, it was like. The son definitely his dad is going through. He has PTSD. He's going through stuff, and this is why he's beyond his years. He just keeps calm. He was like, "Dad, I'm here."
Yep, 100%. He's like, "Dad, I'm here if you need me." If you like.
And I thought, like I said, it was a great performance from the kid, but it was like also just thinking about what this kid has to go through.
It sucks. Yeah, you feel for the kid while he's going through all this for sure. Yeah,
and so. What else happens?
I guess he interviews the twins.
He interviews the twins separately.
Yep.
And because he was, because they're saying why would we kill her? She was our ticket.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they were I guess refugees from Hungary.
Yeah. And they were very hungry.
Yeah. And they did what they needed to. They did whatever they needed to do to survive. Yeah. Their dream is to go to
Missouri,
St.
Louis, Missouri,
because they watched a movie called Meet Me. The first half of a movie.
Yeah, because when
they were in
Hungary,
a displaced people's camp or something.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember if it was Hungary or whatever, but U.S. soldiers came in and they showed them the first half of that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis.
And so that is their dream, to get to America, to get to St. Louis.
Yep.
So that's what, they'd only been working for, I think, Joyce for about a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
But they were saving up all their money to get to America.
But then it becomes this whole big thing of him interviewing back and forth, and then like the boy twin believes in all the stuff that she's doing.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, so like Desdemona.
Yeah.
Oh, it was all fake. It was all a hoax. But basically, Joyce flirted with Nicholas.
Yeah.
So he kind of truly believed, even though he was using
right. He was using the tech.
It was like so dumb. Like, what do you mean? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then.
But because of that, I mean, Hercule Poirot still makes this theory of like, oh, well, you were skimming off the top.
Yes.
She figured it out, so that's why you killed her. And then Desdemona goes running, and she like runs.
So
away.
I think that's I was so frustrated. So like they have her in a room.
Yeah.
She runs past what's his name, Poirot.
Yeah.
Opens the door, just punches Vitaly in the face, and I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like you totally lost it here with your credibility.
Yeah, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
I guess you could make the argument, he got surprised because he got like.
But it was such a pause.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Like it wasn't like open the door, swing. It was like pause. I guess she didn't realize he was going to be there.
Yeah.
But it was like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, but so they tie up the twins.
Yep.
And then.
Around the same, he interviews the fiance around this time.
Yeah.
And with the fiance, you learn a lot more. You learn that Rowena was very possessive of Alicia and like hated the fiance and wouldn't let them get together. Mm-hmm. So because of that, the fiance did break up with her, but then tried to beg her to get back together. Mm-hmm. But Rowena wouldn't let them see with each other. Yeah. And you also learn when the fiance Maxima, he licks the honey. He's like, "That's not wildflower honey." Or interesting. Yeah.
And because he's a chef, so he he cuts his finger while he's in the kitchen. And Adrienne mentions that honey is a good antiseptic.
So then he puts it on, but then he licks his finger.
This is what I was saying. Like Tina Fey's as an actress, she took me out of it. So like he mentions the fact that like he broke up with her because of Rowena.
Yeah.
And because he was like, I'll never be good enough for her. And Adrienne says, so you broke off your engagement because a woman made you feel small.
And I'm like, that's not the
case.
Shut the fuck up. That's not the case at all.
And it was just like, once again, it was just like, that's what frustrates me about so many period pieces in modern times.
Yeah.
It is this constant desire to like throw in your modern ideals. Yeah. So like, shut the fuck up.
100% with that. I will say I agree with that because it's like when the mother of your fiance hates you and isn't letting the relationship happen, and like literally the mom when they got engaged, you realize that the mom Rowena, she ripped up the entire garden, was super petty, was super lashing out, very toxic to Alicia this whole entire time. And then that's what you're gonna go and say?
It was like so frustrating. It was like, she made me feel small. Like, get the fuck.
Yeah, like no, she wouldn't let it happen. And because Alicia and her mother had a very close relationship as well, like there wasn't necessarily room for fiance in certain aspects as well. So yeah, I agree with a lot of that.
Yeah, so it just frustrated me from like anyway. But so
should we make a podcast?
So they've interviewed like 5 or 6 people. Now he wants to interview Vitaly.
Yes.
And Vitaly's confused, but he's like, sure. I mean, I have nothing to hide.
And again, through all these interviews, he's still hearing the haunting voices and all that stuff happening.
So, is this when they've tied up the twins, right?
The twins are tied up.
So the twins are tied up. Then they go and interview Maxine. And
then he hears the voice, so then he goes to interview Vitaly, I think it is. And then when he's interviewing Vitaly and Adrienne, then you hear this new theory, which kind of came out of nowhere.
Yes, and I think this is,
Again, I had no idea.
It was a little predictable just in the scene, but it was also one of those things where like, I guess I wish I got that during any of the investigation.
Exactly. How he just makes this up all of a sudden.
So now he finds out that he mentions that Vitaly was a year prior was a cop.
Yes,
he was a detective because like that was his family business. His dad was a detective. His grandfather was like, so that's why he got into it.
Yep.
But a year ago he just retired.
Yeah.
Not of old age, just left the force, and now he's his bodyguard. And he mentions that as to why he didn't go into why Poirot didn't act.
Yeah.
And then he says, "You've been very good at keeping people away from me. Like you saw people, you see them push them over a bridge, clothesline them, punch them, like, just keeping all cases away from them except for today.
This one, yeah.
Except for this one, sorry. And it was because of the fact that he was like, how would you know the lady with the apple or something unless you guys are working together.
And then how would you be able to find a hidden phone in the room?
Yeah, so that was the thing. It was just like because the phone in the music room was hidden in a globe.
Yep. Yeah.
And he went right to it. So it was like, and it's because of the fact that Vitaly was the detective on the case for the Drake.
Yeah, he had been there before.
Yeah.
And since he'd been there before, then it comes out, Vitaly was, as you said, for when Alicia died, he was the one who went over there and, like, fished her out of the, canal, and, like, then he quit being a cop.
But he quit being a cop right after that.
Yeah.
So, but also, not only are Adrienne and Vitaly working together, but also working with Joyce.
Yes. So that way, as long as they disprove Perrault, then they have a book.
Mm-hmm. And so that's how Joyce knew about where Alicia's room was. There's a in Alicia's room there was a doll, Baba. Sorry.
Yeah, little rabbit.
And that's how like so it was hidden somewhere. And you find out that because Tina Fey's Adrienne was the one that found it, but she was also the one that placed it there.
Yeah.
And so like. The reason why Joyce knew all the background information about the house, about the story, and all that was because of the fact that the detective on the case fed them the information.
Yep, exactly.
Because it was all orchestrated by Adrienne because of the fact that because of her flopping book sales and her reputation, she was trying to get a win. So she was trying to use Joyce and her seances as a basis of a book. Yep. And the basis was going to be the fact that it was the one person that stumped Hercule Poirot. That's why she was pushing
because
for him
it must be real.
Yes.
Yeah, because it stumped him, and then Vitaly was going to get cut. Yeah.
And so this, like you said, this is a revelation that you find out when he interviews Vitaly. And
is this actually? Wait, this is technically there was the basement scene right before this, right?
No,
because I thought this got interrupted because they said they needed to get. When did they unlock the twins, and when did they have to go into the music room?
Something was happening.
So around the same time frame.
Because the basement stuff happens. That's why Homeboy gets locked in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So all the interrogations are done are done before.
Well, I thought that interrogation. I can't remember. Something gets interrupted because the twins run and be like, "Oh, we need the key to the music room." And
that's when he's freaking out.
Yeah.
But that's after he has a panic attack in the basement.
Wait, so then around the same time, then there's like an earthquake or there's just like rumbling that they find, and then
because that's when he starts. So after Maxim's interview, he shows the invitation that Maxim got.
Yes,
and it's on just a regular letterhead. There's no distinction or anything like that. Yep. But because of his hallucination, he just sees the word APPLE.
Yeah, apple.
And then that's when he interrogates Vitaly. Yep. And that's when he exposes their lies, the three of them. So
and I guess that's when the rumbling starts.
That's when the rumbling starts. And he was like, it's coming from the basement. And Rowena says, there's no basement. But like...
Poirot figures it out.
Because
he does.
And I think it's because of the fact that... And also, he had a hallucination of some little girl.
Yeah. Well, I thought that happened later, like after the phone call or something like that, too. Because there was like a phone ringing where it was like static on the line or something like that too.
Oh yeah.
So you're right. It was the basement. So the earthquake happens. So they
let's just jump there.
Then they go to the basement, and while the basement's happening, you get Maxime and the doctor fighting.
Yes.
Yeah, and the doctor almost kills them.
Yeah. So like after he exposes Adrienne, Vitaly, and Joyce, he hears rumbling in the basement. He meant like Rowena said there is no basement. But Poirot finds
he kicks a painting.
Yeah, he kicks it.
He's like. Kick. All right, found it. Yeah.
So they go into the basement and they see the decomposing bodies of the children and stuff like that. And this triggers Dr. Leslie. Yeah. And he starts having a panic attack, and Maxim is like trying to calm him down, but they just start fighting.
Yeah. Well, because also Maxim's talking a little bit of shit at this point in time too. And they start fighting, and the doctor almost kills him, like slams his throat on.
And this is where we get another like fucking powerful moment from Leopold, where he's like, his dad is holding this guy's. Maxim's neck to a piece of jagged glass.
Yeah, it's like a window, basically.
Yeah, and Leopold just holds his dad's shoulders like, Dad, I'm here. I'm here. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And the doctor lets him go, and he kind of just sheds tears into his little boy's arms.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they take the doctor into the music room. They tell him to get some rest.
Yeah.
They close the door and lock it. Because Rowena says that this room is soundproof.
Yeah, so there's only one entrance.
She locks the door and gives the key to Poirot.
Yep.
And then...
as soon as this happens, I'm like, got it.
And then so she takes...
I out Poirot here. Because I knew it as soon as this happened.
So she takes Leopold to excuse me. She takes Leopold to get cake or something like that. Because, you know, obviously he's been through a traumatic experience. I think maybe this is when he sees the hallucinations of the little girl or something.
So then this is when, like, the phone rings in the house. Because there's something going on, so the phone rings. So then Vitaly answers it, there's nothing. Then Poirot picks it up, and then he sees the little girl running through. So then he runs after the little girl. Yeah. And it's this little blonde girl, and he starts talking to her, because he thinks it's, like, someone from the party.
Yeah,
and
that was the not a stowaway, but somebody that was hiding.
Yeah. But then Adrian comes down and is like, who the fuck are you talking to? Yeah, and he's like, what? And then the little girl's gone.
Yeah, and that's when the twins come find it was like, because they hear, I guess they hear banging or something in the
music room. Yeah,
no, it's supposed to be soundproof.
Something's going on. Yeah. Like, oh, we need the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they open the door, and when they go in there, they see that Dr. Leslie's been stabbed in the back.
Yes. Yeah. And you're like, how did that happen?
Yeah, there's only one way in, one way out. Yeah. And I think that's when he tells Vitaly to call the cops and tell them that Poirot is calling for them or something like that.
Oh, yeah, or something. Yeah, because at first he says, tell the cops Poirot's on the case because he believes he'll solve it. Then this shit's happening, so then the guy's stabbed in the back.
So then he gathers them in the room where the performer earlier was telling the kids the story about the orphanage. Yeah. Because somebody recognizes that a doctor died, and they had mentioned earlier that Joyce was a nurse
in World War II.
In the war.
Yeah.
So a doctor and a nurse have died in the house.
Yeah. I guess he does, and then he explores Alicia's room one more time too, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So he explores Alicia's room one more time.
And then actually, no, you're right. And then we find out that
she has the picture of Maxime.
Yeah, there's a second half of the picture because Maxime keeps her picture in his pocket, and we also Olga. I think after the doctor dies, Olga answers his question as to why she stayed in the house. Yes, and why she was at the seance, and it's because of the fact that the night that Alicia died, Rowena would refuse to leave her side. Yep. But Olga's like, you need to go get some sleep. I'll watch her. Yeah. And
Alicia is there with her.
Alicia is with her, and she seemed like she was.
Olga's with Alicia.
Olga's with Alicia. She seems like she's fast asleep. She leaves the room, and when she leaves the room, that's when Alicia commits suicide. Yeah, commits suicide. So she feels responsible.
Yeah. But then, now Poirot
gets everyone in. And once again, every single fucking movie, he gathers them in a parlor of some sort. He literally stopped the train in the murder order and had them in a fucking cave. Yeah. And the second one, he had them in the parlor, on the boat or whatever. And this one, he has them in this foyer, I guess.
The foyer area.
The area, and then so this is when he gives the final revelation, because we already know that the three Vitaly, Adrienne, and Joyce were working together. We know that. He's exposed them, but he exposes the fact that Rowena is the killer, is the murderer. Yeah. And she's like, what are you talking about? I would never hurt my little girl. And Olga doesn't believe it. Leopold doesn't believe it because of the fact that, this is my dad's murderer. What the fuck? Yeah. Because he's also, even though he's wise behind his years, he still does believe and says that he sees the spirits.
Yeah, Leopold's been saying that the kids have been talking to him and shit. Yeah. Creepy kid.
And so we come to find out that the honey that, the honey in the house was a hallucinogenic. It was a hallucinogenic. It was so when Rowena found out about Alicia and Maxime getting back together, she tore up the garden and went to Istanbul, where she learned about a special type of flower that produced.
That makes you hallucinate when it's processed into honey.
Yes.
Yeah, so then she planted that flower there and made the honey. So then when Alicia came back, she started feeding that honey to her to keep her weak.
Yeah, so it was that's what was giving. So she wasn't having, and the same thing with Poirot. So he figured this out because of the fact that honey was giving him hallucinations. So he wasn't being haunted by the people in the house. Yeah. It was a hallucinogenic from the honey.
Maybe he was being haunted.
And so that's what was also haunting Alicia. It was the fact that she was every time she was freaking out, her mother gave her the honey.
Which was a poison.
So it was that's why she was going insane. And on the night that
Alicia died.
On the night that Alicia died, Olga, because she woke up in a panic, so she just gave her the honey, but she didn't know that it was poison, so she gave her a fatal dose.
Yeah, she gave her too much, so she overdosed on
it
and died.
Alicia overdoses. Rowena realized this the next day, or later that evening.
Night. Yeah.
And not wanting to be found out, she marked She marked Alicia with the mark of the children.
She desecrated her daughter's corpse and threw it into the canal.
Threw it in the canal.
Damn, that's fucked up.
And so that would have been the end of it, but then she started getting blackmailed.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So she believed it to be either because Joyce was the one that reached out to Rowena about the seances. Like, Rowena had read about her.
Yes.
But Joyce was the one that reached out with a bunch of information that she shouldn't have known.
Yeah.
And so she believed that the blackmailers to be either Leslie, the doctor who was working with Alicia, or Joyce.
Yeah.
So she invited them both to the seance to figure out who's blackmailing her to get it stopped because she's running out of money.
Yep. Yeah, because she's been paying the blackmailers. Because it was like she didn't have money from before. They're like, where'd her money go? She's paying off blackmailers.
And so
when Joyce says there's been a murder,
yeah,
she then decides, well, fuck it, I gotta kill Joyce now.
So that's why in the beginning, after the seance, when everybody breaks out and Joyce puts her cloak onto Poirot, it was Rowena trying to drown who she thought was Joyce. When she realized it wasn't, she stopped, she ran away. Then she finds Joyce and pushes her off the balcony for her to get impaled by the statue. And then, still trying to cover her tracks, after Dr. Leslie freaks out and they lock him in the music room, she goes to the kitchen where there's another phone and calls into the music room because it is soundproof. Because it is, there's no way to call out because of the storm. But so she calls to the music room because Dr. Leslie's in there and she says, I know it's you who's been blackmailing me. Now, if you don't want me to kill your son, he'll do exactly what I say. So he places a knife on the wall, turns his back, and walks into it.
What a terrible way to die.
Jesus Christ.
I know, right? Fuck.
But, so that's,
So there you have it.
So,
Cut dry.
And so Rowena's like, I'm not going down for this. So she runs away. She goes to the roof or whatever, and Poirot follows her. And as he's talking to her, you see flashes of
Alicia's ghost.
And this is why I was saying I couldn't decide, because now we know that he's been hallucinating. How true is he? And this is, like I said, this is why I just shut my brain off and let the mystery come to me rather than trying to figure it out. Because I don't want to do all this work and be like, oh no, it was ghost.
Yeah, it was ghost the whole time. For sure.
But so we see a flash of Alicia's ghost, and it pulls Rowena off the roof to her death in the water. And then we just get a shot of her floating down into the water to be with her daughter, basically.
Which, for the record, that's like a 2-3 story drop at best. That's not going to kill nobody, but whatever. I'm just throwing that out there.
I've been afraid to fall off a bridge by the time because I don't know the depths of like how high you need to be. I know obviously depending on how high you're on the velocity, when you hit the water, it's like hitting the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So depending on
hitting concrete.
But I mean, from a palazzo in Italy, it's not quite tall enough. Just throwing that out there.
I don't know. Every time I'm looking over water, I could be standing over a pool like, nope.
That's a 3-foot drop. That's like concrete. Damn.
Shattering my legs. But so mystery solved, right? So I think the morning comes. And
he has a little debrief with everybody.
And he goes to he asked the twins what they're gonna do, and he was like, well, Joyce was alright, but we'll figure it out. We always do. Vitaly is like, I assume you want to fire me, but can I at least get you home? And Poirot just says, I mean, in the light of day, I don't think you did anything wrong. Basically.
So he still is his bodyguard.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I wasn't 100% sure, because he didn't show up later, so I was like, wait, did he fire him anyway? And he was like, nah, fuck this guy, he's out? Okay.
Yeah. And then
he talks to Leopold and Olga.
Yes, and this is where we get a bit of a twist. So Olga's going to take Leopold because he's an orphan now.
Dude, better lock him in the basement. Those are the only options in Italy. You either lock the orphans in the basement or...
And so this is where he deduces that Leopold was the one blackmailing Rowena because of the fact that since his dad was so shaken by his experiences of the war, he did misdiagnose Alicia. But Leopold, reading the charts, he was like, it was obvious that she was being poisoned. And so he was blackmailing her, but not for some nefarious purposes, just because of the fact that his dad couldn't get work.
He needed to pay the bills.
So he needed money to pay the bills. So like he said, he didn't even know what to do with the rest of the money. He paid the bills and he stashed the rest. So Leopold recognized that Rowena was the killer because she was a former opera singer, and her first opera the antagonist of that one was known as the Poison King.
Got you.
So he just recognized, reading the charts, seeing that, recognized she was a killer, blackmailing her, but he was only using the money to pay the bills. And then so Poirot, being that he had lost, Leopold had lost so much throughout the film. From what we see, he was like, I'm not gonna
turn you
in or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think we can find a use for that money.
Yes.
And so he goes outside and tells the twins that Leopold is going to help them get passage to St. Louis.
Yes.
To try to do a good deed.
Yeah.
And so then he has, after that, the twins go with Olga and Leopold so they can figure out their situation. And then we have the last interaction between Adrienne and Poirot, where the first thing she says is, I'm not going to apologize. Yeah. And I was just sitting there like, you so-and-so. I was so mad. I was so fucking mad. Yeah. But like, I don't know, I guess, where their friendship is after that. It did seem like he wasn't fully insulted. Yeah. But I think it's because of the fact that he bested her at the end of the day. But yeah.
And it kind of ended with them being like, all right, well, I don't hate you. You don't hate me. I guess we can hang out every now and then. Keep it moving.
And then he goes home, and like we saw in the beginning of the movie, there's a lot of people lined up outside of the door. Yeah. And so he opens his door, and instead of closing it regularly, he leaves it open. So the guy recognizes, oh shit, he's taking on the case. So the guy goes up to the rooftop or whatever. And Hercule Poirot is already, like, he has a few papers there or whatever.
He already has papers on this case.
And he's like, okay. Because the guy was explaining his case earlier, so he says, your parents died, your brother died shortly after, and you fear that you're next. He was like, but the doctor, saying
it's not a curse or whatever. Yeah. The doctor's killing all your family. He said your family.
And even I heard it when he said the case. I was like, yeah, don't trust the doctor, dummy.
Yeah, no, right? Come on now. Yeah.
But we just see that Hercule Poirot is back. He's no longer retired, and he's been, I think, revived from the Haunting in Venice case. Yeah. And then that's the end of the movie.
And then boom, scene. Great. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. What we always like to do is just go back to our original reviews. So, Mike, you gave it a 3 out of 5, right?
Yes.
Okay. So after all this, what are you thinking?
I'm bumping up to a 3.5.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, I did really enjoy this. I guess that means I'll bump Murder in the Orient Express to a 4. Okay. But I think it was just, I wouldn't say a lot of fun. Like I said, I wish I wouldn't have given up. Okay. Like the case and just like let it. Just let it come to me versus like trying to figure it out alongside Hercule. But it was just because of the fact that if it was going to be something supernatural, that's not something you can justify.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But regardless, I did enjoy it. I think what's worse is even making the cast smaller. Okay. It does, like, you can't hide. There were like fucking 4 suspects, I guess. Fair. At the end of the day, you can't hide too many of your culprits. Yeah. In that way, right? We got 12 people. It's easier to hide it, but like with such a smaller cast, it was just like, yeah, this one was going to probably be a little bit easier to figure out.
I wish Leopold would have done it. Just would have figured out
like an identity.
Yeah, some way for that creepy little kid to have killed everybody. Yeah.
He was like, I did it for the fucks and gigs.
Yeah, the ghost told me I had to. I'm like, oh shit.
But yeah, so I'm going to increase this to a 3.5. I did really enjoy it.
Hell yeah, cool. I'm going to keep my 3.5. I also enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a nice, like, again, 3.5 is like, this was a solid, good movie that I like. A 3 is like, it's a movie. It's pretty good. But 3.5 is like, I enjoyed this. So again, thank you so much for listening, everyone. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at 2meddlingkids on Instagram and Twitter, or you can email us at 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they find you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and my comic handle for Instagram is hunt.comics. We'll be back next week with a brand new movie. See you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.